this is actually part 1 of a 2-part series.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, we are part of the fandom.
Quite a large fandom. So the fandom we're obviously referring to is the fandom of Dan and Phil, and as part of the fandom we thought it would be only right to support our 2 favourite YouTubers in the real world by actually leaving the house and going to see them live. So we thought we'd start this off with an experience that we both shared, which was going to see the Leeds showing of The Amazing Tour Is Not on Fire. So this all started with Chanté texted me quite late on, I think, after we'd got home from another gig, which we might want to talk about in the future, and saying, I have found tickets to The Amazing Tour Is Not on Fire. If you need tickets to anywhere, get Chanté on the case, definitely. So when she said that she'd found 2 tickets, I thought it would be rude of me not to go. I thought, support my friend, you know, it'll be a good laugh. And we were just talking about how excited we were for it.
What we thought might happen.
And then it happened. I saw a girl wandering aimlessly around the train station. She looked quite distressed. So Chanté left me to go and walk up to this girl.
If you need to, you can go sit with us.
Mm-hmm.
Fandoms stick together.
Yeah.
And she looked at me as to say, are you saying what I think you're saying? Or is that just coincidence?
Mm-hmm.
Pulled up my hoodie to go and show her my t-shirt.
Like, we're not just some randomers. We know why you're here.
The cat whiskers come from within. She looked at it and the smile that broke out on her face. So we had a little laugh. And she said, no, I'm fine, but if needs be, I'll come over.
After we'd eaten, we walked up to the town hall. We saw a queue a mile long, and I'm serious now. So there was only one thing missing from our uniform, and that was
the whiskers.
So we walked in, we gave our tickets in, and there was a table
of the most amazing pieces of work that people had brought to give to Dan and Phil.
It was a fan art table. Extraordinary fan art I have ever seen in my life. By this point, everybody was starting to get seated. It was starting to fill up. There were quite a lot of people around. And we'd sat down, getting ready to start the show, when a guy came and sat next to me. Now, he was a dad.
His kids were on the other side of the aisle.
And he came and sat next to me. He just turned and said to me, so what is it these guys do? And the only thing I could say was, anything they want. To which he replied, okay, I'm just going to have to ride this out then.
However, that wasn't the only surprise in terms of the people around us.
No.
A group of girls came in and they sat in the row in front of us.
One of the girls turns round to pull her seat down and Chanté went, it's you! And the girl looked up and it was the girl from the train station who had managed to find all of her friends and came and sat down in front of us. And then the music started.
Anybody who's been in the fandom even a little bit will realise that there's certain songs represent Dan and Phil. And of course these are the songs that we're playing.
Yeah. So afterwards we realised that Dan and Phil had actually made a playlist of their favourite songs and songs which resonate within the fandom. We were just waiting for one band, a song from a single band that we really, really wanted them to play. And it's a band that quite a lot of the fandom are fans of anyway.
Yeah. And who we'd also seen live about 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. We were starting to get anxious because the time was going down and people were starting to sit down and the ushers were starting to close the doors and we thought...
They haven't played it. Have we missed it? And then a mysterious voice came from the ceiling.
It was Dan, who said that the show would be starting soon and that we needed to make sure that we were sat in our seats.
Correction. He said the show will start in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. This is very important for what I'm about to say next. He said 5 minutes.
We managed to hear that over the enormous amount of screams after he went, hi, it's, and the room erupted. And when Dan had finished saying what he wanted to say, the song came on. It wasn't just us who were waiting for it by the sounds of it, because as soon as the first notes were played, everyone around us was screaming and shouting as well.
This was basically mass karaoke at this point.
And me and Chanté were absolutely ecstatic.
Just as it hits the chorus,
the music turns down.
I repeat, he said 5 minutes!
We were only about 45 seconds into the song when the music started to close down. We were kind of upset that they hadn't played the entire song. Now, don't get me wrong, we really wanted to see Dan and Phil, and we were really excited that that was the only song they played by that band.
If you play a song I like, I expect to hear the entire thing.
Yeah.
You cannot cut it out on me.
So the most amazing hour went by, filled with laughs, challenges. I think people were crying at some point. It was the most amazing live show I have ever seen by two people who are not traditionally classed as celebrities. To say that they never leave their bedrooms only to go for food, they did a fantastic job of amazing the crowd and being really entertaining. Now, luckily, we both go into a phase of fangirling after a gig. Now, for me, mine is, oh my god, they're real, they actually exist, they do this for real, and I've seen them with my own eyes.
Whereas I go into this internal, absolutely dead on the outside, internal kind of
Go
business.
really quiet.
Yeah, that's me.
So, we were two of the last people in the auditorium.
Mostly because I can't function when I go into a state.
So we both got up to leave.
Outside of the store, I quickly realised were 3 crying girls.
Which for a gig is not unusual.
But they were, one of them was full out sobbing. Enough that it made me think, oh no, what's wrong? Turns out, Dan and Phil had left by that exit.
And those girls were there specifically to try and meet them, as they hadn't managed to get tickets for the gig.
They'd been stood out there since the matinee performance. And this was probably like the worst thing, considering my internal fangirl at that point had taken over my body. It latched onto this information and became full-blown Godzilla-like.
So what happened next was a bit of a shock.
They pointed in a general direction and I took off.
So I turned round to look at Chanté to find that she'd already gone. She had ran across 2 pedestrian crossings into the middle of the town centre. I still wasn't sure what was happening at this point, so for me to have to run after her was quite a scary experience. All I could fathom to shout was, "What's happened?" And all I could hear back was, "Dan and Phil went this way."
I don't actually recall saying that at all. That is how much my inner fangirl went and took over me. I had no recollection of shouting anything back, of telling anybody, just, they went this way.
So, after a good 5 minutes of trying to run after her, she must have come to the conclusion that they'd gone and that we wouldn't be able to see them, luckily, because I felt like I was about to die.
I did come across 2 people who I thought might have been them, until I realised one was a girl and was smoking.
Which is not an insult, Dan and Phil, but it was dark.
And I walked away only to then come up with the idea in my head that maybe it's them in disguise.
I wouldn't put it past them going in disguise. After the amount of girls were screaming at them just that night, I wouldn't put it past them to wear a disguise.
But I admit, I realised, I got to the point where it's like, okay, I've got to this junction and they could have gone several different ways without knowing which one. There's no point.
No. It was one of the best things I've ever done. And it firmly cemented my place in the fandom. That was it. I was hooked. There was nothing anybody could do. These 2 guys were 2 of the greatest entertainers on the internet, and I had to follow them.
This is actually the start of a series which is going to basically be Confessions of a Fangirl. Now, it's not just going to be for Dan and Phil.
We'll be doing videos on anything we find, so for me personally, you might find a bit of Doctor Who, a bit of Sherlock, a bit of Panic at the Disco. And for you, what will we
You'll find
from
a
you?
fair bit of Busted,
Yes.
of Harry Potter,
Yes.
and just a sneaky, just a smidge mind
Yeah.
of you know, just general hating the world.
If you could like this video, that would be super. If you want to subscribe, that would be even better. We will leave a link in the description to our introduction videos to this channel if you're new here. Also, we did a video reacting to Pin-Off 7, which is one of the highlights of the fandom calendar. So please do check that out. And we look forward to telling you all about TATINOF Part 2. Bye!
Bye!